So here we are, once again out here in the throes of western Nevada. Pretty desolate area we visited today. We have mountains all around us, not close, at least not all of them close. In the distance there is the Ocala Mountains, the Ocala Indian Caves, and also the Lovelock Caves, where it was once thought giants lived there, as archaeologists have dug up great big versions of us. As we pan around, in the distance there is Interstate 80. Don't know if the camera will pick it up, but it looks like a bunch of little ants out there. And we came from the opposite direction. But this is where we're heading today. So this takes us up into a bunch of late 19th century, early 20th century mining works. So let's get started. So our first stop today is the Desert Queen mine. This mine claimed in about 1863 gold, silver, galena, and other minerals. This collar's in very bad shape. I'm not going to play with that today. One of the remains of one of the old buildings as we continue to walk this way. Right up here, which we'll show you in a minute, was the workings around 1950, where they came in doing an amalgamation and brought cyanide in and was leaching with that. Pretty primitive, not anywhere near what we're used to mining today. There's a view of our Ocala Indian Caves again. We've come about 5 miles on the quads thus far. When I was out here as a young'un, not to date myself, but there was a number of buildings still here, and this shack was still standing, albeit now the roof has succumbed to the elements. But great architecture for the day. Stack rocks, make everything nice and neat. Signs of a lot of mining, various quartz.
We need flashlights.
It's not Babbard?
It's been cut.
Oh. Well. So, the wife says we're going to have some fun.
Go back there and see it.
So we're going to get set up for that. So we'll be back with you momentarily. Alright, so in the 1960s, people of this country became well aware of the possibility of nuclear war. For those of you that studied history, you've probably heard of the Cuban Missile Crisis. Well, this became a fallout shelter. So, what I'm going to do, since we've got some low ground in here, I wanted to show you the bat bars. They had come in and sealed this mine, and somebody graciously come along and opened it back up. So, with that, we're going to explore this one. We'll be back with you shortly. Okay, so we just came in through there, and we're now pointing that way. So let's see where it leads us. I see something up ahead there. I really suppose life would be a whole lot better if I took my sunglasses off. All right. So there has been some foliage in here. We've got a drift going to the left. So it's either collapsed or has been backfilled. Show you some of the native rock. Not too bad. Then we come up to this little jewel. So I'm going to shut the camera off. See you on the other side. Okay, we just came through there. The wife's still coming over. Your black light's turned on.
Yeah, I was not wanting to screw up the knee, so.
So.
Green.
Yeah. So this is what a black light does in a mine, because there's all kinds of neat stuff that light up with black light. So let's turn the flashlights off. And we'll switch over to black light. So
I always wondered if it was rodent pee. Oh, there's a mark right back there.
yeah, somebody's been in here surveying. So little stoping out there. That rope hanging down lights up very well. There's a little speck of paint right there. Oh, that's even better. It's like a fun house in here. All right, onward. So I'm an old man. Getting over obstacles like this isn't like it used to be. So for all you young ones out there, enjoy your youth, because someday you will rest in peace with youth and have to deal with old age. So nothing too exciting so far. It's pretty crumbly in here, at least the walls. So I'm going to turn off the camera then we'll come back if we find something more exciting. So, we'll show you one of the creatures that like man-made tunnels, Mexican freetail. Trying to be warm for the winter. It is getting pretty chilly at night out here, so he's not moving around much, but there he is. So we will move on and not disturb him. Coming up on another rock fall here. So they were definitely stoping up on this one. I'm too old to climb up there, so we'll just have to say it probably went up there and stopped. We will stop and run a black light over this and see if there's anything exciting. Little organic twigs, but nothing, no excited rocks. Probably, as the wife mentioned, probably rodent pee. We didn't sample it. So onward. I'll turn it back on when we find something exciting. Alright, so right now we're coming up on a tremendous amount of groundfall. These are some big boulders. And some of this stuff is pretty fractured. Kind of spooky in a way, but not the worst mine adit I've ever been in. What'd you find? So, boulders, and the tunnel continues. We'll pick it up on the other side. Okay, so we just came over that, the boulder field. You can see the ceiling. That's where it all came from. There's another slab right there ready to fall off at any time. So the rule is talk softly, which I'm not doing. So right here, somebody started stoping up and didn't find anything, or got whatever was there. They were definitely chasing something, because most Homage adits that I've seen go straight back. You gotta hit that with your black light.
What?
That white stuff.
Right?
Yeah. Nope. Huh, I thought it would too, but it didn't.
It's been a very boring mine.
Yeah, well, we're not to the end of it yet. Kind of a nice little pocket. If there was a vein of anything in here, they got it all. Or we're going to run into it as we get farther back. But anyway, continuing with my story, this was once a planned fallout shelter. And after the Cuban Missile Crisis, they came in here and they stored civil defense supplies in here. And since Right next to the town of Fallon, Nevada, is the Naval Air Station Fallon. That was on the list of things the Russians wanted to nuke. So when the alarms went off, everybody was supposed to migrate out here. So I guess maybe you might have stuffed 5% of the population in here at the time. Drill holes. And I guess if you were racing the Russians, you might make it halfway out of town, but I don't think you would have ever made it out here. It's a pretty long drive. Yeah, nail in the wall. Nice hanging ledge down here. You can see the strata of the rock where it comes down, but I'm not seeing any quartz stringers in it. Anyway, we'll keep going and pick up if we find something interesting. Alright, so up here in front of us, we found an ore bin. And it's plugged. It's plugged very well. And we have a ladder going up and up and up and up and up. So no telling if there was another drift level up there or they were just stoping up chasing a vein. There's definitely a standing platform right above us, but I would imagine they're just stoping and dropping down the ore chute here. So that's pretty cool. And then this was where the county used to put civil defense supplies. And I thought I would find stuff back here, but I'm sure over time it's all been hauled out. Even had the provision for power. Of course, probably would not have worked too well once the atomic bomb hit Fallon, because the EMP would be enough to take out anything that runs on a gasoline engine. But they had high hopes of survival. So that's the end of this one. We'll make our way out of here and we'll pick it back up on the outside. Alright, we've made it back outside. So wasn't a lot to see, but we're glad you got to share that with us. So we'll take a look around from the air and see what else there is to look at. Firing. Interesting. All right. So here we are at the shaft at the Desert Queen that I looked down earlier. It is a pretty dark abyss there. I couldn't see the bottom of it. I didn't zoom down because with the long shadows of the afternoon approaching us, I'm sure all we would have saw was just a black hole. As I pan up, you'll see the Desert Queen adit. I'll call it the lower adit at this point, that we have done already. So you saw the back of that and saw the rays at the back of that mine. I would guess that the rays went pretty close to the surface because it was pretty tall rays, and we were back there probably 300 feet. So as we come up, you're going to see a dump on the left-hand side. This appears to have been created after the invention of the dump truck. Looks like a dump truck's been getting rid of waste rock that they probably had nowhere else to put. And then as we proceed up the hill, there's a larger tailings pile, and this seems to be a combination between a shaft that was sunk next to that tailings pile as well as the adit, which I suspect may go up farther under the mountain. Of course it would, but how far, I don't know. It was bat barred, and so we were prevented from exploring it, but the state did expend an exuberant amount of money to make sure that those were barred off, and we'll get back to those in a minute. So as I fly over this adit that's also bat barred, that we failed to explore, we'll get back to that here in a little bit. You'll get to see down it as far as the light will reach with a very lousy camera that I was using this day. So as we come up on here, there's some older workings on the lower end, but no adit. There's a small adit right below us there, that more of a dog hole, and then some workings off to the right with some old timbering, and then we get to this crosscut across the mountain. So this was somebody's open pit idea, but right below us, right about now, there is an incline shaft that goes down, I don't know how far, but anyway, right below us is the timbers they were using for the stalls that we'll come back to. Here we get a look at that shaft that the state conveniently bat barred. Doesn't go very deep. Looks like there is drifts running northwest and southeast. As we come up here, there's a view back toward the bottom of the hill. And then finally, once I overfly this and back up a little bit, this is the 1950s cyanide tank that ran a cyanide operation here for a short period of time. So we've arrived at an area above the Desert Queen, which is still the Desert Queen, but found this one on the drone. Google Earth don't do some things justice, but if anybody's missing a 2004 to 2006 Chevrolet Avalanche, well, there it is. I don't know. Probably never read the VIN number on that. I love the way people get rid of stuff in Nevada. Of course, it's probably all over, but alright, so I'd has gone off to explore what appears to be an adit, and she's giving me the cutthroat as if it doesn't go anywhere. So the bat bars exist. It's one nice thing about bat bars. The only thing good about bat bars is when they do this over mine shafts, you can get a view down. So let's see what we can see. It looks like we got a drift running off to the south. I can't see to the north, but that's pretty well the end of that, except for some old rudimentary ladders. So yeah, they wanted to make sure nobody went down this either. Wonder how much steel the state of Nevada wastes just to make sure that we can't explore something. It's like labels on bottles. Kind of eliminated the Darwin Award. If we can't be responsible for ourselves, I guess the government will protect us. But God, you could build a lot with this steel. It really sucks. So we will explore here in a minute and move on. Alright, so Ida advises me that this has all been bat barred, but we'll keep an eye out for sneaky snakes, because this is prime temperature, about 60 degrees. They're going to want to come out and get some sun, because the nights are getting cold. We're almost to November, and she probably could come through and wake it up. And then I would come along and get bit. But there's a look through the back bars and down the mine. So we're not exploring that one. So onward. We have arrived on the west side of the mountain from the Desert Queen. This might very well be an extension of it, but we're finding stacks of railroad ties that was seen on the drone when I flew over the top of the mountain.
One more old because they're square.
Yeah, some nice stuff. They were working this at a time that foam was available. We know it was worked sometime in the 50s, around 1951. We're seeing a lot of copper sulfates, so probably pretty mineralized. But they do seem to be pretty involved in that one. I don't have a flashlight, but that's a nice incline. And they reinforced it, at least over the collar, with the foam and the ADS pipe. So, was it 1950s? I don't know. But it must have been something worth going after. A lot of fractured rock right here. probably what they were looking for. There's some quartz right there, quartz stringer running through there. Hopefully that shows up good on the camera. And a beautiful view of the valley with some other mining works. We're going to try to work our way that way. So we are going to fly the drone to a object that Ida pointed out, which gets us over here to what I'm going to now say is a mine shaft that we missed coming up, and obviously we weren't equipped today to do mine shafts, so this will be a look at that one. My fingers weren't exactly used to flying the drone. It's been a month or so since I've done it, and being old, you don't get used to keeping your muscle memory for very long. Some of you will figure that out if you haven't already. So this is a hover in over the top, and we're just going to drop down instead of zoom because I feel adventurous, so I fly down here until my proximity alarms go off, which I have set for pretty close, but they were going off. This appears to have sealed itself. So with that, we're going to go ahead and zoom up with the drone, and I'm going to scope out the next thing to look at. Another beautiful look at the valley out in front of us. This is kind of a saddle between two mountain ranges, and as I panned around, we had seen this coming in but had bypassed it on the road to the left, not knowing for sure this was something, if it was interesting, we were going to catch on the way down. But if it ever was a shaft, it has collapsed at the collar, or all the way to the collar. So I did use the zoom this time to get a closer look, but if you look off to the right hand side, I think there's an adit there, and we missed that completely, so we're going to save that for another day. So as you can see, there's nothing left of that but just the collar. Who knows, it could have been a hoist rig that was used to pull a sloper out of that adit, because it looks to be pretty well in line with it, but we'll have to investigate that on another day. So with that, we zoom up, and there's a couple other interesting features out there that I flew over that turned out to be nothing, and so with that, we end this segment. So they say that chance is mind, and in this situation we come across an ore dump with some small tailings that we thought, okay, might lead to something, so we went ahead and drove up the side of the mountain, and lo and behold, there's an adit, and this adit had the bat bars cut out of it. So we decided to take a look, and we will share that with you shortly. Okay, so somebody graciously took the bat bars out of this one too.
Oh,
And
it had that box?
it had bat bars. And so once again, a lot of money spent. It's muddy in here too. A lot of money spent on a tunnel, an adit that just faces out. No stopes, no nothing. Habitat for small critters. And they were hand picking this. So a lot of hard work, and they didn't find what they were looking for. So standing back at the face, looking out the front, and that's all the fun this one's going to be. We have arrived at the Mule Train Mill. If you look on any kind of mine data, they say this is the Mule Train Mine. I disagree. Everything about this says mill. The huge timbers, the lag bolting would have said sluice box. So there could have been anything sitting here. A stamp mill. I mean, those timbers would definitely support a stamp mill. And then the ability to run a sluice down there. It's possible this was a mercury operation. It's possible it was just a sluice operation, because right out there on the Carson Sink is the availability of water. And there is water ponding here very close by. You don't have to dig down very far to get water. So this would have probably been a really good place for a mill. Anyway, if you think any different, let us know in the comments. And we're going to do a quick drone flyover, get the bigger picture of this thing. The sun's making long shadows. We've been out here a long time. It's getting close to the end of the day. Still nice and warm, but we still got a ways to trek back to the truck. So the drone tells a little better story. You can see the pond there that would have been the settling pond off of the operation, and then a ditch that ran down in that direction to get rid of any overflow water. We did notice a well off to the left of that screen. You'll see it again here in a minute. But there's a rock wall there. The timbers would be conducive of a stamp mill and an operating engine of some sort there on the left hand side on that rotten timber. And then as we zoom out, you'll see the well right there in the lower left hand corner. So they had hand dug a well and used it to supply water to this mill. As we move on down toward the end of it, of course time has dissolved a lot of what was going on. There's another little working down here just across the first road. Not sure if that was just another settling pond or somebody else's milling operation. The map says there was a mill here, but it just says historical, and we couldn't find any trace of any timbers or anything that would have suggested that. But you can definitely see the strata runoff from the ore, from the mines, and it creeps out there in the desert quite a ways. So there probably was a lot of material run through here at one time. Alright, well, we've made it back to the truck. That's a pretty long day. And so with that, hopefully you will like the video. I don't care if you like it. I don't care if you subscribe. But if you want more of these amateur mine videos, and I will get better as time goes on, then you might want to tune in. But I'm not in it for the money. I'm not in it for the YouTube awards. Anyway, thanks for watching.